I've always loved the outdoors, but I never thought a quiet weekend in the woods would leave me questioning what's really out there. This happened about 2 summers ago in late August. I was 26 at the time and had just started a new job in Seattle. After months of being glued to a computer screen, I was desperate for a break. My best friend Kyle suggested we take a weekend camping trip somewhere remote. Just the two of us. We found this small lake deep in the Olympic National Forest that barely had any online reviews, which honestly made it more appealing. No crowds, no noise, no phone signal, just forest, firewood, and fresh air. That was the idea anyway. We drove out early on a Saturday morning. The trail was rough and our phones lost signal halfway up the road. By noon, we had our tents pitched near the edge of the lake. It was peaceful, almost too peaceful. The water was still, the sky was gray, and everything around us felt heavy and silent. We joked about it being horror movie weather, but neither of us really thought anything weird would happen. We spent the day hiking, fishing, and talking about dumb stuff. Just two guys off the grid. No one else showed up at the lake the whole day. We didn't even see another car on the trail. I remember feeling lucky, like we had the whole forest to ourselves. That night we made a fire, roasted some hot dogs, and shared a flask Kyle brought. Around 10, we crawled into our tents. The forest was dead quiet except for the occasional owl. It felt like the kind of quiet that presses on your ears, if that makes sense. I fell asleep faster than I expected. It had been a long day and the fresh air knocked me out. I didn't know it then, but that would be the last time I ever felt truly comfortable sleeping in a tent. I don't know what time it was exactly, but I remember waking up in the middle of the night. The air had gotten colder and everything inside the tent felt damp. At first I thought it was just the temperature drop that woke me up, but then I heard something outside. It wasn't loud, just a soft crunch, like someone stepping on dry leaves. I held my breath, listening. A few seconds later I heard it again. Slow, careful steps. Not rushing, not heavy, just deliberate. My first thought was that it might be a deer, or maybe a raccoon looking for food, but the steps sounded too even, too human. They moved in a half circle, like whoever or whatever it was walking around our tent. I stayed completely still. I didn't unzip the tent. I didn't even move my sleeping bag. I just lay there, eyes wide open, listening as the steps crunched a few feet away, then paused. Then they started again, this time on the other side. I whispered Kyle's name, hoping he was awake too. He mumbled something like, probably just an animal, then rolled over. But I could tell he hadn't heard it the same way I had. He was half asleep. I was wide awake. And then the footsteps stopped. For a while there was nothing. No wind, no owls. Just silence so deep it made my ears ring. I strained to hear anything. Breathing, snapping twigs. Anything at all, but there was just nothing. That kind of silence doesn't feel natural. It's like the whole forest was holding its breath. Then I heard a sound I'll never forget. It was like something being dragged. Not loud. Just a slow, gritty scraping noise, maybe 10 or 15 feet away. Like someone pulling a stick or a bag across dry ground. It didn't make sense. There was no reason for that sound to be out there. I felt a wave of panic rise in my chest. I wanted to scream or get out, or grab something to defend myself, but I couldn't move. I just lay there waiting for it to start again. But it didn't. The dragging stopped, and the forest went back to being dead silent. I don't know how long I stayed awake after that. It felt like hours. Eventually, I must have dozed off from sheer exhaustion. But I remember one thing clearly. Whatever was out there, it never made a sound walking away. The next hour felt like a blur. Or maybe it was longer, I honestly can't say. Time moves differently when you're scared. Every sound feels sharper. Every second stretches out. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling of the tent. My heart pounding so loud I was sure it could be heard from outside. Kyle was already back asleep, snoring softly. He hadn't heard that dragging sound, or if he had, he didn't care. I kept replaying it in my head. The footsteps, the way they moved around the tent, and that final dragging noise, like something heavy being pulled through the dirt. I tried to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe an animal, maybe the wind, maybe I had just imagined it, but no matter how I spun it, something didn't feel right. It was the silence that bothered me the most. The forest isn't supposed to be that quiet. Even at night you hear things, bugs, frogs, rustling in the trees. But after that sound, it was like nature shut off, like something had entered the woods that didn't belong there. and everything else went still. I wanted to check outside. A part of me kept thinking, just unzip the tent. Just look, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. The idea of seeing something standing out there, just a few feet away, froze me in place. So I waited. At one point, I thought I saw a shadow pass by the side of the tent. It was quick, barely a blur. Could have been a trick of the moonlight. Or maybe my eyes were playing games with me. Either way, I pulled my sleeping bag tighter around me and didn't move. Eventually, I must have passed out. Not because I felt safe, but because my body just shut down. I was drained, terrified, completely overwhelmed. When I woke up, the sun was barely rising. A soft orange light filled the tent, and for a moment, I almost convinced myself it had all been a dream. Maybe I just let my imagination get the best of me. Maybe I was overreacting. But deep down, I knew better. Something had walked around our tent that night, and it hadn't left a sound when it disappeared. When I finally stepped out of the tent, the air was crisp and cold. The sky was overcast, casting a dull gray light over the trees. Everything looked normal at first. The lake was calm. Our fire pit had burned down to ash. For a split second, I felt foolish, like maybe the fear from the night before had just been in my head. But then I saw the ground. About 5 feet from our tent, there was a clear boot print in the dirt. It wasn't from me, and it wasn't from Kyle. We both wore smaller hiking shoes, with very different tread patterns. This one was large, deep, and pointed in the direction of our tent. I looked around more and found another one, farther back near a tree. Just 2 prints. Not a trail. Not a path in or out. It was like someone had stepped forward and vanished. I called Kyle over. He shrugged it off and said it could have been from a hunter or a hiker, but we both knew no one else had been out there. We hadn't seen another soul the entire time. No tire tracks on the trail. No voices in the distance, nothing. Then I noticed something else. About 10 feet behind our tent, there was a branch stuck in the ground. Not just lying there, stuck straight down, like someone had stabbed it into the dirt. It looked like it had been snapped off a nearby tree, fresh and green at the end. There was no reason for it to be there. No storm, no wind. It wasn't there the day before. Kyle tried to play it cool, but I could tell he was shaken too. We didn't talk much after that. We packed everything up in under 30 minutes, skipped breakfast, and hiked back to the car in silence. The whole way back, I kept looking over my shoulder, expecting to see someone in the trees just watching. But there was no one. The trail was as empty as it had been the day before. The forest was quiet again, but not in a peaceful way. More like indifferent. Like it didn't care if we came back or not. When we got back to town, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed us. I kept looking at the rearview mirror during the drive, half expecting to see someone in the distance. But of course the road stayed empty. That night, after taking a long shower and trying to calm my nerves, I decided to post about the experience on a camping forum. I didn't go into too much detail. Just said that we'd heard some strange noises and found prints near our tent. Most of the replies were what you'd expect. People saying it was probably an animal. A few joked that we were lucky it wasn't a bear. But one comment stood out. It was from a user with an old account, barely any posts. All they said was, "That spot has a reputation. Locals avoid it, especially in August." That sent a chill down my spine. I messaged them privately asking what they meant, but never got a reply. So I started digging. After some searching, I found an old local news article from about 2 years earlier. A man in his 30s had gone missing while camping in the same general area. According to the report, his tent had been found slashed open, gear scattered, but no sign of him. Search parties never found a body, just nothing. Same forest, same month, same silence. I don't know if it was just coincidence. Maybe it was unrelated, but something about that stuck with me. The boot prints, the dragging sound, the branch stabbed into the dirt like a marker. I haven't been camping since. I still spend time outdoors, but never overnight, and never that deep in the woods. People think the scariest part of the forest is the wildlife or getting lost, but I think it's the silence. Because when the woods go quiet, it usually means something is watching, and whatever was out there that night, it didn't want to be seen. It just wanted us to know it was there.